The first time I found the deer, it looked like any other roadkill. A young buck, maybe 2 years old, lying on its side at the edge of the tree line. Its eyes were wide but glassy, fixed on something I couldn't see. I felt bad for it. Its body was still warm when I touched it, so I decided to bury it. Out here, in the quiet stretch between my cabin and the next town, things rot fast. Coyotes would have picked it clean before sunrise. I dug a shallow grave in the clearing behind my cabin. The soil was damp, smelling of moss and old roots. I covered the deer, patted down the earth, and thought that would be the end of it. The next morning, it was back. Same deer, same torn flank, same wide, frozen eyes. It was lying in the exact same spot where I'd found it before, as if the night hadn't happened at all. I buried it again, deeper this time. I marked the spot with a heavy stone. I told myself it was just another deer, one that happened to look eerily similar. But the thing is, by the third time I buried it, it didn't look quite like a deer anymore, and I think it's trying to look more like me. I haven't told anyone this before. Not my family, not my neighbors. Hell, I barely even have neighbors this far out in the woods. I guess that's why I'm telling you. You seem like someone who's seen strange things too. The kind of things that keep you awake at night, staring at the dark corner of your bedroom, wondering if you're truly alone. My cabin isn't much, just a small place with weathered wood siding, a rusting tin roof, and a porch that creaks every time the wind shifts. I came out here for peace. You know, the quiet life. I wanted to hear crickets instead of traffic, smell pine instead of exhaust fumes. I thought isolation would feel like freedom, but isolation feels different when you realize there's no cell service, no signal, no internet, no way to call for help if something happens. Out here, when you hear a sound in the middle of the night, a knock, a low thud, something shifting under the floorboards, you don't have the comfort of thinking, "Oh, I'll just call someone." You only have the sound, your own breathing, and the blackness pressing against the windows. That's what it's been like since the deer started coming back. I've been hearing things. At first it was the usual cabin in the woods noises, branches scraping against the siding, the roof popping as the night air cooled. But then it became more deliberate. Footsteps in the gravel driveway, a slow dragging sound on the porch just under my window. Sometimes, if I'm lying still enough, I swear I can hear breathing, not mine. The strangest thing is how it seems to know when I'm awake. I'll keep my eyes closed, pretending to sleep, and the sound will stop. The moment I shift, even a little, it starts again. I keep telling myself it's just an animal, maybe a coyote, maybe a bear, but that doesn't explain the way it knocks 3 soft taps on the wall outside my bedroom, right at the spot where my head rests against the inside. It doesn't explain why I'll find muddy impressions on the porch in the morning that aren't shaped like paws or hooves, but something else. I've been having sleepless nights for weeks now, not just because of the sounds, but because of the feeling like something's waiting for me to make a mistake. Do you ever feel watched, even when you're alone? That prickling on the back of your neck that makes you want to turn around, even though you know you won't see anything. That's every minute of every day here now. I think it all started with that deer, or whatever it is. Every time I bury it, it comes back a little different. The first time, it was just a deer. The second time, the eyes looked wrong, not glassy and empty, but almost aware. The third time, the mouth seemed wider, like it had been smiling. And the last time, God, the last time it looked like it had my hands. You probably think I'm losing it. I thought the same thing. I've gone out in the middle of the night, flashlight in hand, looking for proof that I'm not just dreaming all this up. But every time I try, the batteries die faster than they should. Every time I get to the tree line, the woods seem darker than before, like the shadows are thicker, heavier. The air changes to colder, stiller. Not even the crickets will sing, and if I stay too long, I start to hear whispers. They're not loud enough to make out the words, but I know they're meant for me. I'm telling you this because I need someone to listen. Someone who won't laugh or tell me it's just the wind. Someone who might believe me when I say there's something in these woods, something that doesn't follow the rules of life and death. I need you to promise me something. Promise me you won't try to find this place. Don't look for the cabin in the woods. Don't go walking down the old dirt road past the mile marker with the bullet holes in it. And if you ever see a deer lying perfectly still at the edge of the trees, don't touch it. I know how tempting it is to get close, to make sure it's not suffering, to bury it so the scavengers don't tear it apart. But that's how it starts. That's how it finds you. The cabin isn't much to look at from the outside, but it has a way of feeling bigger than it should once you're inside. From the road, if you can even call that rutted dirt path a road, it's just a sagging shape tucked into the tree line. The roof bowed from decades of snow, the chimney listing slightly to the left, like it's leaning in to hear the wind. The windows are small and deep-set, framed with weathered boards that have gone gray with age. You could drive past and never notice it. In fact, I think most people do. When I first moved in, I thought it had character, the kind of quiet, old-world charm that makes you feel like you're stepping into a simpler time. But the longer you stay here, the more you notice little things that aren't quite right. The front door never swings the same way twice. It'll catch halfway one day, fly open too icily the next. The floorboards creak in different spots at different hours, like the house changes its shape when you're not looking. The land surrounding it is thick with pines and black oaks, the kind that let very little sunlight through. Even in summer, the cabin always feels like it's sitting in a patch of late afternoon shadow. There's a thin stretch of gravel driveway that ends in a small clearing before the woods take over again. No neighbors, no traffic. The only sign of other people is an old barbed wire fence about half a mile to the west, and even that's half buried in moss and leaves. It didn't take long for me to start hearing the local stories. Out here, people don't talk much, but when they do, it's usually about something that happened to someone else, someone you'll never meet. The cashier at the tiny general store, the one with hands like paper and a voice like sandpaper, told me about hunters who'd gone missing in these woods. Said they found their rifles and gear laid out neatly on the forest floor, but no trace of the men themselves. An older guy who delivers propane tanks once every few months swears there's a stretch of land out here where compasses spin in circles, where your watch will stop and won't start again until you're miles away. He told me not to walk past the creek behind my cabin after sundown. I asked him why, and he just shook his head, muttering something about things that don't stay buried. At first, I chalked it up to rural superstition. Every small town has its ghost stories. But then I started noticing the silences. The birds here are loud at dawn, almost deafening. But the moment the sun dips below the trees, the forest goes still. No wind in the branches, no frogs or crickets. It's like the whole place is holding its breath. The inside of the cabin has its own quirks. The kitchen clock stops at least once a day, always at 3:17, no matter how many times I change the batteries. Sometimes I'll catch a faint smell of damp earth in the living room, even when the windows are closed and the floorboards are bone dry. My bedroom mirror, one of those old, heavy things nailed to the wall, occasionally shows shapes in the background that don't match what's behind me. Once, I saw a figure standing just behind my left shoulder, too tall and too still to be me. When I turned around, there was nothing. I've tried to convince myself it's all in my head. Being alone out here does things to you. It makes you notice every creak, every flicker of shadow. But there's a difference between feeling watched and knowing you're being watched, and I'm starting to think I know. The first time I felt it for real was about a month after I moved in. I was sitting on the porch, drinking coffee, watching the mist roll through the trees. The air was cool and damp, and the only sound was the faint dripping of water from the eaves. Then, without warning, the mist seemed to thicken. The trees closest to the cabin faded into a kind of gray blur, and I swear I could see something moving in it slowly, deliberately. Not a deer, not any animal I recognized. It stopped when it reached the edge of the clearing, just beyond the gravel. I couldn't see its face, but I could feel it watching me. My skin went cold. The coffee in my mug rippled slightly, like the porch had shifted under me. And then, just like that, the mist thinned, and whatever it was gone. After that, I started catching smaller things. My boots, left by the front door, turned facing the wrong way. Fresh dirt tracked across the kitchen floor in the shape of long, narrow impressions, as if someone or something had been standing there for a long time. The old brass key I keep on the counter would be lying on the windowsill when I woke up. I haven't told anyone in town about any of this, partly because I know how it sounds, and partly because I think they already know. When I stop in at the store or the post office, I'll catch people glancing at me just a little too long, like they're waiting for me to say something. But when I meet their eyes, they look away fast, and then there's the deer. The first time I found it was early morning, just after a heavy rain. It was lying at the edge of the clearing, its body twisted unnaturally, legs splayed wide. I thought maybe it had been hit by lightning, or fallen wrong while running. I buried it at the far end of the property, marking the spot with a small pile of stones. A week later, it was back. Same spot, same body. Only this time, it wasn't bloated or decaying. It looked fresher, cleaner, except for the eyes. They were too dark, too reflective, catching the light, even when there was none. I buried it again, deeper this time. But a few days later, I woke to the sound of something dragging across the porch, and when I opened the door, there it was, standing. I'll tell you more about that part soon. But first, you have to understand the cabin, the woods, the way the world feels different out here. It's all connected. Whatever's happening with that deer, it's not just about the deer, it's about this place. And this place doesn't want to let go. The third night began with wind, not the kind that whispers through the trees, but the kind that feels deliberate, heavy, and searching. It pressed against the cabin walls in long, steady breaths, as though the forest itself wanted inside. The sky had been clear at sunset, yet now the air rattled the loose shutters in a rhythm I couldn't ignore. And then came the knocking. At first I thought it was on the door, but the sound was muted, hollow, and closed. It was coming from beneath the floorboards. 3 slow knocks, a pause, and then 3 more. I lay in bed, listening, counting each one, the flashlight trembling in my grip. I swept the beam across the corners of the room, half expecting to catch a face staring back. Nothing, just shadows too deep, too still. By morning, the soil outside was torn in jagged arcs, marked by deep, cloven hoofprints. They didn't lead anywhere. They just circled the cabin. The 4th night, the knocking moved. I heard it in the walls, then in the ceiling, pacing me from room to room. Not frantic, not aggressive, just patient. That night, my sleep came in fragments, and when I finally drifted off, I dreamed of standing over the mound where I'd buried the deer. Something shifted beneath the dirt, pushing upward, stretching the soil until it cracked. I woke to find my bedroom window open despite locking it. The air was sharp with the scent of wet fur, and in the quiet, I thought I heard something breathing. By the 5th night, I wasn't pretending anymore. The knocking was gone, replaced by a slow, unsteady breath just beyond my bedroom door. I froze, staring at the strip of shadow beneath it. The shadow moved. When I whispered, "Who's there?" the breathing stopped, leaving a silence so complete it made my ears ache. At first light, I went to the grave. The dirt was disturbed. Again. Lying on top was the deer, but not the same deer. Its legs were longer now, bent at strange angles. Its neck stretched taut like it had been pulled from both ends. Its cloudy eyes followed me when I moved. I buried it again, deeper, though I swore I could hear a faint hum beneath the soil. The next night, the forest went still. Not quiet still, as though every living thing was holding its breath. Then the furniture began to move. A chair scraped across the floor by itself. The table edged slowly toward me. My flashlight's beam caught the window, and that's when I saw it standing at the tree line, or what was left of it. The skin on its face had split down the middle, peeling away to reveal too many teeth. Its head hung low, tilted far past where bones should allow. It didn't move. It didn't blink. I waited for sunrise, and when I stepped outside, I saw the hoof prints, fresh, deep, and leading from the mound straight to my front steps. By the 6th day, I stopped pretending the cabin was just old. Something was using it, wearing it like a body. I didn't want to admit it, but the signs were everywhere. The clocks had stopped days ago, yet every so often, I'd hear them ticking. Again, but only when I stood near the bedroom closet. That morning, after another sleepless night, I decided I couldn't take another second of wondering. I dragged the dresser away from the closet door and pried up the loose floorboards. I'd noticed my first day here. Beneath them wasn't just dirt. There was a cavity, a small hidden crawl space lined with rotting planks. The air down there was heavy with the smell of mildew and something faintly metallic, like rust or old blood. I lowered my flashlight and saw a leather-bound book lying in the dust. Its cover was cracked and darkened with age. Inside, the pages were brittle. The ink faded to brown, but the handwriting was sharp and deliberate. The earliest entries were from the late 1800s. A man named Ezra Thorne had lived here then, and according to him, this wasn't just a hunting cabin, it was a marker. Ezra wrote about a thing that came from the forest during the first frost, always wearing the skin of something familiar, an animal, a neighbor, a loved one, but never quite right. He called it the hollow guest. It wouldn't speak, but it would watch, circling the cabin until it was noticed. The moment it was buried, it would begin changing, becoming less like what it had been and more like what it truly was. Each time it returned, it would be harder to kill, harder to keep in the ground. Ezra claimed his father had taught him to bury it deep and never, ever look at its eyes after the second burial. The later pages became erratic, frantic. Ezra wrote of hearing it under the floor at night, its claws scraping the beams. He said it could move between the cabin's bones, that the knocking was its way of feeling the walls, testing for weak spots. The last entry was just 6 words, scrawled across the page in ink so dark it bled through. It knows I'm the last one. I should have stopped reading there, but the journal wasn't the only thing in the crawl space. Along the far wall, etched into the wood, were dozens of tallies, each grouped in sets of 7. Next to the most recent set, someone had carved an outline of a deer's head, but the antlers were wrong. They curved downward, like claws. I traced them with my finger, and the moment I did, I heard movement directly above me. Slow, deliberate. I shoved the floorboards back into place and pushed the dresser over them, heart pounding so hard it hurt. For the rest of the day, I tried to ignore the feeling that I'd been marked, somehow, but that night, it didn't wait outside. I woke to find it standing in the corner of my bedroom. Not the deer I'd buried, not exactly. Its legs were too long, joined in the wrong places, and its jaw hung open far wider than it should have, like it was smiling without knowing how. I could see the dirt still clinging to its hide, and its eyes, God, its eyes weren't cloudy anymore. They were bright, a bright, human brown. I don't know how long I lay there, frozen, before it turned and walked out, but it didn't take the door. It stepped toward the far wall and simply kept going, slipping into the wood as if it were nothing but water. A second later, I heard it beneath the floor again, closer this time, and I realized something Ezra had never written down, maybe because it was too late for him to admit it. The deer wasn't just coming back, it was teaching me. By morning, I'd already decided I wasn't spending another night here. My bag was packed before the sun had burned the fog off the tree line. I didn't even bother to make breakfast. I just wanted the sound of the cabin's breathing, because I swear it was breathing behind me. The forest was still damp from the night, and the trail felt softer than it had when I'd first arrived, almost sponge-like under my boots. I followed the same route I'd used when I came in, compass in one hand, the map in the other, but the landmarks had changed. The split birch tree was gone, replaced by a rock formation I didn't remember. The stream I'd crossed wasn't where it should have been. Each time I checked the compass, the needle spun, never settling, as if the forest itself couldn't make up its mind. I kept walking, for hours it seemed, though the light never shifted much. It was stuck in that pale, dull glow that comes just before dusk. Once, I thought I saw the clearing where I'd first entered the woods, but when I stepped into it, I realized it was the cabin's yard. I'd walked in a perfect circle. The place had been waiting for me. I tried again and again. The second time, I swore the trees closed ranks when I wasn't looking. Trunks angled in just slightly, branches brushing against my shoulders. The third time, I began to hear the knocking not from the cabin now, but from deep in the forest. Slow at first, then in pairs, then faster, matching my footsteps like it was pacing me. When exhaustion forced me to stop, I leaned against a tree and felt something under the bark. Carvings, tallies, just like in the crawl space. Fresh ones. The wood was warm where I touched it. I pulled my hand away and the warmth lingered, almost like it had sunk into my skin. That night, I gave up on the idea of getting out. I built a small fire just to push back the darkness, but the smoke barely rose before bending sharply and drifting toward the cabin, as if the air itself was pulling me back. In the glow of the flames, I saw movement between the trees. Too many. Legs for a deer. Too tall for a man. It stayed just beyond the firelight, circling slow, like it was drawing out the moment. When the fire burned down, I didn't fight it. I picked up my bag, turned toward the direction the smoke had pointed, and walked back. Every step felt easier, lighter, as though the forest wasn't resisting me anymore. The cabin was waiting. The door was open. Inside, it was warmer than I remembered, almost comfortable. The dresser in the bedroom had been pushed aside, the floorboards pulled up, revealing the crawl space. The journal was still there, but now a fresh page lay open on top, my name written at the top in shaky ink. Underneath was a single sentence: "You don't have to run anymore." I don't remember lying down, but I woke to the sound of breathing. In the room, not outside, not beneath the floor, right next to me. And when I opened my eyes, the thing wasn't wearing the deer anymore. It was something closer. My height, my face, my smile, except wider, deeper, as though it had been practicing. It didn't touch me. It just lay there, staring, until I realized I wasn't afraid anymore. My chest rose and fell with its rhythm, my breath matching its breath. Somewhere in my head, a thought began to grow, soft and persistent. You can stay. You can rest. I think I've stopped fighting. It's easier this way. The woods won't let me go, and the cabinet doesn't feel like a prison anymore. It feels like part of me. If anyone finds this, don't try to help. Don't follow the trail. And whatever you do, don't look into its eyes. You'll only see yourself. I haven't been able to sleep since that night. Not really. Some nights, I lie awake for hours, staring at the ceiling, listening for the sounds that have followed me home. The soft creak of branches, tapping on windows, the barely there rustle of leaves just outside. Even when the house is silent, I swear I still hear breathing. It's not like the steady rhythm of a person asleep beside me. It's uneven, unpredictable, like it's watching, waiting. I thought leaving that place behind, putting distance between me and that cabin in the woods, would make it stop. But it hasn't. It clings to me in the quiet moments, in the shadows where light shouldn't reach. Sometimes, when I close my eyes, I see those eyes. the ones I wasn't supposed to see. The eyes that aren't quite human, watching, patient, knowing. I feel like I'm broken now, like something inside me shifted out of place. People tell me I look tired, and maybe that's putting it lightly. Sleepless nights have left their mark. My reflection in the mirror sometimes looks back at me like a stranger. Hollow eyes, pale skin, a mouth set in a line that doesn't smile anymore. You might be wondering if I've told anyone about this, about what I saw, what I felt, but I haven't. There are things better left unsaid, and places better left alone. My family thinks I'm just stressed, maybe a little depressed. I've learned to keep quiet, to fake the normal laughs and the everyday conversations. But inside, I'm always somewhere else, back in those woods, under that heavy sky, where the air seems too thick and the silence too loud. I tell you this because I need you to understand. If you ever find yourself near a cabin deep in the woods, far beyond any cell service, where the clock stopped ticking and the birds refuse to sing, please listen to me, don't stay. Don't try to explore what's hidden beneath the floorboards, or chase the whispers in your dreams. Some things aren't meant for us. They're ancient and patient and far older than we can understand. If you see eyes watching from the trees, don't look back, don't meet their gaze. Because once you do, they don't forget, they don't let go. And that presence isn't just out there in the forest anymore, it's inside you. I've spent months trying to convince myself it was all in my head, that exhaustion and loneliness made me see things that weren't there. But deep down, I know better. I know what I saw was real. I felt it brush against me, felt it sink into my skin. Some nights, when the world falls silent and the house settles with those little creaks and groans, I swear I can hear it whisper my name, just a breath, barely audible. A reminder that it's still there, waiting. I don't know if I'm haunted, cursed, or just broken. But I do know one thing: if you ever find that cabin, burn it to the ground. Don't stay. Don't let curiosity or bravery or anything like that trap you in the same way. Because once you stay, it's no longer about survival. It's about belonging. And belonging to something like that, it's not a gift. It's a sentence. So please, promise me, if you ever stumble on that place, if you hear the knocks in the night or feel those eyes in the dark, just run. Run without looking back. I'm telling you this now because I don't want anyone else to suffer the way I have. Because sometimes, sharing the story is the only way to hold on to what's left of yourself. And maybe, just maybe, if enough people hear it, if enough of us warn each other, then those eyes will find fewer places to hide. But until then, I'm still here, still awake, still listening, and I still hear it every night. Have you ever felt like something was watching you when you were supposed to be alone? Maybe you heard footsteps in the silence, or whispers that didn't belong to anyone in the room. If you have, you're not alone. I read every single story like that, every whispered confession, every shadow you weren't sure was real. I want to hear your experiences, your moments when the world didn't feel quite right. Comment below and share your story. I promise I'm listening. Sometimes, just knowing someone else has been through it too makes the darkness a little less heavy. But there's something you need to remember. Don't let curiosity lead you where you shouldn't go. If you ever come across a place that feels wrong, or see eyes where there shouldn't be any, don't stay. Don't wait for answers that might never come. Run, run, as fast as you can. And please don't listen to the next story alone. Sometimes, the silence afterward is worse than the story itself. You never know what might be waiting in the quiet, watching, waiting for you to look back. So, share your story if you dare. But be careful. Because once you start hearing those footsteps, well, there might be no turning back.